Before we dive into today's episode, I've got to tell you about my personal journey with Munn Avenue Press. As an author myself, I've experienced firsthand their magic in turning books into bestsellers. They empower aspiring authors, giving voices like mine the platform they deserve. If you've got a story to tell and a dream, Munn Avenue Press is the ally you need to publish and market your book. Visit them at munnavenuepress.com. That's MUNN press.com to start your publishing journey, just like I did. Welcome, Season Sixers. As always, thank you for being part of our Color of Success podcast family. I'm your favorite host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Keep your eyes peeled for my brand new book coming out. It's called Cancel the Filter, where I share my experiences in the realm of mental health, both professionally and personally. Subscribe to colorsuccesspodcast.com to be on our waiting list. Seats are limited and being filled as we speak. We're also streaming on all your favorite platforms and socials. Whether you're on the go or comfy on the couch, you can tune in at your own comfort. As you know, we love growing discussions with our guests from our AAPI and minority communities. With so many friends and experts from different aspects of life, we love learning their stories and understanding what their success means to them. Let's get into it. Rosie Lonnie Fiedelman grew up in Breckenridge, Colorado. She is currently in The Lion King on Broadway, living out her dreams in the Pride Lands. She was in the original off-Broadway and Broadway cast of In the Heights. Other theater credits include Heat Wave, The Jack Cole Project, choreographed and directed by Chet Walker, American Dance Machine for the 21st Century, and Ghost Dancer, playing Rosario. Rosie danced with Jennifer Muller, The Works, where she originated several roles and was rehearsal director for Miss Muller. She teaches bar, stretch, and dance at Equinox and the JCC. Film and television credits include Foss Verdon on FX and Raising Dion, Double Dance on Netflix. You can learn more about her at rosiefiedelman.com and buy tickets to The Lion King on Broadway. Rosie, thank you so much for being on our show today and spending time with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited because I'm having another Broadway star. I can't believe I'm sitting down with another Broadway star. I'm like, what is happening with my life? Like, I get to rub shoulders with cool people because of Peter Stoltz. So thanks, Peter.
Yes, we love Peter.
Well, I wanted to jump right in. The lockdown happened during the pandemic and everything kind of shut down. I actually went to Hamilton for the last day before everything shut down here in San Francisco. So what happened to Broadway? What happened to show business in terms of performing arts?
Oh, well, there's really no short way to answer this question, I think. My personal experience, we were, watching the news closely in the dressing room, having conversations, and it was really scary. And the week that we officially shut down that Tuesday night, we're all kind of speculating, like, we'll probably get through this week and maybe shut down for a week or 2 weeks and then come back and it'll all be figured out. And we didn't even make it through the week. Thursday, the 12th came, and we just got phone calls not to come in. And then it was initially 2 weeks, and then it turned into obviously like a month, and then 2 months, and then just kept going on and on. And we were let back in the theater to grab things that we needed, and it was so crazy, Stephanie. Like, you open the dressing room door and like everything was left in its place exactly, like we just kind of
Wow.
disappeared.
It's like a
Yeah.
museum.
Yeah, it was really eerie. And at that point, I think we thought it would maybe just be a month total, and then everything just kept extending. And in
Yeah.
cases in New York, especially, there were a lot of cases, and so all of that happened. The lockdown happened. We didn't really have any answers or information. The producers didn't have answers or information. Everything
Yeah.
was still, as you know, and it was it was difficult seeing other things coming back. Of course we needed our, frontline workers and our restaurant workers and everyone, but ours was the last thing to come back because live theater, you need people, you need people to be in tight spaces, sitting shoulder to shoulder and having this live experience. So, yeah, it was pretty scary.
There's a magic in doing things in person, and I'm sure you can speak to that, of like getting audience feedback and just seeing people's reactions is probably priceless.
Yes, I mean, it's one of my favorite things, especially in our show. We get to see the audience up close and personal. And I mean, you can hear the excitement or you can hear them laughing or, you see people crying. I love it. But, you know, even, I mean, I did some remote teaching and from my living room and like my parents' living room. And even that is a hard because you're not in the space with people, so you don't feel their energy, which is something that we feed off of, not just as theater people, but I think as, everyday
People.
people. Yeah, just
Yeah.
people.
So it seems like there was added layers of stress because I thought, and even now, there's this general level of anxiety and depression that kind of happened during that time. And so that was kind of the status quo. And for me as a therapist, I mean, obviously I saw people remotely, and so I was fortunate that way. But how did that impact your mental health? And perhaps you can even speak to your castmates or your colleagues.
Well, for me personally, I mean, as everyone did, I lost a lot of people, and I'm sure as you saw the rate climb as far as people having issues with depression. And, I have a lot of friends that, left on their own terms, we'll put it that way. And, we had no idea that people were struggling, and of course I was definitely struggling, but I had a really good support system with my family, and I was able to get out of the city for a few months and go to stay with my parents in Colorado and like just be outside and be in nature and be with them, as scary as the whole world was. But I do see it now too, and I'm sure that you do as well. Like just I think I'm doing as much work as I can for myself, and
Mhm.
I'm so happy about that. But it also kind of it makes it more obvious to me the people that are not, and not faulting them at all, but like they're just not able to get the help. And it's really, I don't know if we're addressing it in the correct way, and I don't know what the correct way is, but it's almost like some people are like, if there's this mentality of just push through and keep moving, and that's just not realistic because people haven't processed their trauma and their loss, and it's definitely affecting everyone still, I think.
I mean, pun intended, the show must go on is kind of what I'm hearing. And especially in New York, where it's literally impossible to have 6 feet of space in a subway, and get to where you need to go. So it sounds like in Colorado you had tucked away from all of that, being in a tuna can. But I hear you. I mean, when things shut down, many people just didn't know what to do, and if they were living alone, I couldn't even imagine living alone for 2 to 3 years. Like that is so lonely and it's solitary, and it's just really, it was really, really hard for people. So, um, transitioning back, and even if you're thinking about it now, what's one change, an ideal change that you feel could be implemented to really address some of these mental health issues that people are facing in Broadway?
Oh man, that is a good question. I wish there was just one thing that
Sure.
I could think of, but I think it's probably similar in a lot of other things, and I think the world has kind of started to realize, especially with professional sports, how there's a huge new trend. It's not really new, but it's new to us because we don't normalize talking about our mental health and staying mentally healthy and strong. And I think that maybe there's a vein and or a direction that could be in the Broadway world or for theater in general or live arts in general, that we normalize having these discussions. We normalize therapy and medication, and we normalize, being patient and gentle with ourselves and also with the people around us.
Yeah, and there's been many celebrities that have talked about it when they do and get involved in very dark characters. They've had to seek therapy or they go through that depression or substance abuse and things like that. So I imagine that if you're fully embodying your character, there's all sorts of psychological things that you go through.
Yes, I mean, and not only that, it's also physically. I really believe that your, things that happen in your life and traumas, they settle in your body, in your muscles, and so I think we always disconnect our mind from our body, but they're so connected. And I think being as a dancer, that I'm much more aware of that, but especially now that I am, really doing the work to make everything balance. I think that we all have to just kind of look at it in that way, that it's very connected. And so, even if you're in, what is this fabulous show? Some Like It Hot, and it's just joy and it's so much fun. I mean, I can imagine that there's still some of those issues as well.
So let's talk about that physical piece. I'm so glad you brought that up because you had hip surgery. It takes a while, understatement, to kind of come back from that, do physical therapy and all that. How did that impact your career or the way that you approached, performing moving forward?
Um, well,
I know
I
I'm
think
asking really easy questions today.
basic questions. Yes or no? Um, well, no, I think that this procedure, it's really big, and it's really big for someone who is in my career path. And um it's been such a learning experience for me. And I wish that I would have done it sooner, to be honest, but I also kind of in that same vein, like normalizing the fact that injuries happen and that doesn't make you, unhireable or undesirable or weak. It's just or like you didn't do the correct warm up or whatever. It's just like the constant, thing. It wears your body down. And if you don't give yourself that break, and not to go back to professional athletes again, but they have
But you
seen,
are an athlete. I mean, dancing is athletic. I mean, you have to put your body through hell. And particularly with when I see ballerinas' toes or feet, it's like, oh, I can't. The pain, the growing pains, literally, that they go through.
yeah. I mean, and I think so when I mean, I really had no other option. My doctor was like, this is, you need to have surgery. And, I tried so many different things, but, navigating that emotionally as well. I mean, I am literally stronger. I have titanium in my leg, and coming back from it, I have such a great care team and physical therapist, and I'm still seeing all of them, and my surgeon is amazing. And, just like remembering to also be like patient with myself and know that like it's going to take time to get back to, tip top shape, whatever that was, even
Mm-hmm.
before like pandemic times and all. But um it's been emotional, and
Yeah.
because it feels like it's a loss. And when you identify as, especially as a mover, a dancer, that an artist, it's hard to imagine yourself not being able to do that again or the same way that you could. So um having that grace period with myself as well. But also I've been just like kind of taking all the pictures and taking all the videos and writing down notes and everything. And I'm not really sure where I'm going with it, but I want to document it and have it out there for other people to see. So again, to normalize this kind of procedure or any kind of procedure, and then coming back from it and not feeling like, the world has, moved on without you, or you're no longer desirable an employee. So
I can link you to a great producer, the one that edits our stuff. He's like so good. And
cool.
he undersells himself. But anyways, I'm not his agent because he's like, you got too much going on. But I imagine that, with any profession that people are so passionate about, that becomes part of your identity. And when that is threatened, it is just so hard to like take a step back and say, you know what, I'm going to take time off. Let's talk about that too, because what was going through your mind when you knew you had to take time off, and how does that, please put it in a context for me about how people look at body image and age and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so the thing is, we came back into rehearsal September, end of August of 2021. And um, we just kind of hit the ground running because there was really no other way to do it. We had to get back into shape and we had to get, all of that stuff. And so I started to already feel pain happening on one side of my body. And then I had some like a PRP injection, and then it shifted to the other side. And I was
Oh,
like, I'm doing so great. I went back in 2022, and 2022 was like a really hard like fall for us. And then that's right before the holiday season, which tends to have kind of a crazy show schedule. But it was the 25th anniversary. So we were rehearsing for that. We shot a new commercial, which was amazing. We were on Colbert, all amazing things. We were on the Macy's Thanksgiving parade, but they're all like, you're standing around for a long period of time in a very cold space or
yes.
outside and it's cold.
I had to ask, did you have to wear diapers? Because I've heard rumors about New Year's Eve or something.
Oh my gosh, no, no, because we
Okay.
we were able to kind of be in we were in the in Macy's itself,
Okay.
like made these like faux dressing rooms for everyone that was
I
performing.
have
But
to get very important insider information here, Rosie.
yes, exactly. I imagine if you are waiting in and trying to be in the front row in the audience, you may have to wear diapers. I've
Oh,
heard that as well. But
unless it's BTS, you ain't gonna see me out there.
yeah. Um but yeah, so going into that, so having all of those things, which again, they were amazing, and then being in rehearsals for all of that, and then also rehearsing just our normal rehearsal process and doing 8 shows a week it was really hard. And I pushed through it. And towards the end of, I think it was like January, I mean, I was to the point where I couldn't finish all 8 shows because I was in so much pain. And there wasn't anything that I could take to relieve arthritis, when it's bone on bone. And I'm like every day, like jumping around on a steel stage and just like pounding on it, not making anything better. And
Yeah.
I would walk to the theater like really slow, and I'd get into the theater and I'd warm up really well, and I just wouldn't stop moving. And then I would leave the theater and I would just like limp off of the train to go home and just be like, I can't, this is not the quality of life that I can continue. And like, I think it was that feeling too of like, well, if I'm limping around, I'm weak, or
Mm.
I'll be replaced by someone that's younger. And there's always that kind of thing in the back of your mind. It's not said, it's not, but it just, and especially as a dancer, that whole image of youth and being thin and strong at the same time, which is kind of crazy, is like, all of that just kind of keeps coming back, into your mind and into your world. So
I mean, it sounds like, you're a true professional. So the adrenaline was pumping when you had to do the show, and then your body was just like, F you at the end of the show.
it
So
was.
we talked about kind of the young performer. What advice would you give up and comers or people that are really looking to get into the business? Because I think mentorship is just so important in any field, but particularly from someone who's had all of this experience, including injury.
I would say this is going to sound silly, but stay in class. So even when you've booked the job, it's, you still need to it's just like continuing education for anything. And the more you continue to move, I'm not saying take like 8 classes a week and then do your show or whatever, but like
Mm-hmm.
just stay in class so your body is moving in a different way, and everything is firing in different ways. And then you go into, whether you're dancing in a dance company or you're in a show or you're in a limited engagement situation, like just to keep your mind awake and connected as well. And I would also say take some basic classes on like finance or
Mm.
anything else about like start saving immediately, because it's hard too when you come out of school, or if you're not, if
Yeah.
you know, you book your first thing and you're like, I've never had this much money before, and now I'm just going to go spend it. And it's, it happens a lot. And I think that's one thing that I would definitely say. And then also just to um I think listen to your body. Even when you're, young, you can still get injured.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think just listening and not going, okay, I have to push through this. Go, okay, let's take a step back. What's going on? Why is this injured, or why is this hurting? What can I do? Can I get into physical therapy? Can I back down a little bit? Can I work differently? Because every time you get injured, it's for me, it's like I have to kind of relearn how to jump or how to plie or how to whatever, because I've been doing something that my muscles were like, we got this, but then
Yeah.
eventually they break down. And it's like anything. It's just you can't just keep pushing it, pushing it. You have to learn to work smarter and differently. And like as many injuries as I've had, um I've always come out of them smarter.
That's great advice actually in general life, because I'll also add to that, which is the mental health piece, right? Is if you feel super depressed, anxious, paranoid, agoraphobic, and you feel like you can't leave your house, etc., or claustrophobic, as we talked about prior to starting the interview, is and not that Rosie's claustrophobic. She's just in a very small space. So I was like, I hope you're not claustrophobic. But I really urge people to really take a look at that, because when you are white knuckling it, you're avoiding it. And it will come out in different ways. And that may look like you're snapping at people. You may be falling asleep at certain times and just not being as focused on your craft or with the loved ones around you. So, like you said, I'm really into this integrative holistic health. And I think just really being able to address those components are helpful, because we see so many people that are going through pain. And we have this society has this idea of this drug addict who's just shooting up on the street. There's quite a few people, and that's why codeine and all that stuff has gone through its waves, because people are like, I can't afford a surgery, or I can't take time off. I am just going to self-medicate because it's easier in the short term. And so that's a mental health thing as well, is being able to work on pain management and have the care team that you said that you've built.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Um and even like looking back, like I was not happy in pain, and like also then I was not taking care of myself, and I wasn't taking care of the people around me because I was so unhappy, and that was affecting my friendships and my relationships. And you have to again, and I have so much more empathy for people. Like, this is going to sound kind of crazy if you don't understand what people are like in New York, but everyone walks really fast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And if someone is not walking fast, people are like, out of the way, you know what I mean, on the sidewalk or up and down the subway stairs. And when I see someone walking slowly, I'm like, maybe they have an injury. Maybe they're older. Maybe they're, who knows what's going on.
Like,
But
what's going on with them? Yeah. You're sitting there and pausing a little bit. Like,
right,
it's not just that they're trying to get on people's nerves.
right, right. And I mean, so it's the same thing too when you see people, drug use and homelessness. It's like people didn't choose to be there. They need help too, it's important for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, especially in major cities where you see the streets just, people are just all lined up on the streets or in encampments, and it's just heartbreaking. And again, that intersection with mental health is many of the folks that are homeless have issues with mental health. So it's very, very complicated. But I did want to transition to, you are in The Lion King on Broadway, one of my favorite Disney movies. And I'm wondering if you could talk about what it's like to be a part of a classic.
Um, Oof, it's amazing. And that is not even like the correct word, or I don't even have the right words to explain what it feels like. But so first of all, the story is, I love the story because it's, even though we're all animals, it is about society, really. It's like there's a moment, the top of the show, which is the circle of life, which is the same as in the cartoon, and there's no other time when all of the animals that sometimes they're predators and sometimes there are, would not get along in society together, but they all come together for one thing, and that's to meet their new, king or prince. And it's like literally the circle of life, and we can't survive without each other. And if we don't acknowledge that we have so much in common, then we all suffer, and it's the same thing when we come back. This is my favorite part of the show. It's called the final busa, and it's when Simba takes his rightful place on Pride Rock, and he walks up the stairs, and we all come out, and like all the animals come back out, and we're singing, and we literally like bow and say, till we find our place on the path unwinding. And it's like, oh, I'm getting choked up. Um, because that to me is that's the most important part of this story, of this show, is that we cannot survive without each other, and we can't be lifted up if someone isn't lifting us up, and we can't, lift someone up if we're not allowing them to be lifted up. So that's what it feels like to me every night. And then
Rosie, mic drop. Like, I'm just like, okay, we got it. But yeah, I'm very, very tempted to just use your picture in your full makeup with the Lion King makeup. So I think I might do that, because I just was like, this is dope. Like, I have to put it out there. But where can people learn more about you? And also, can you kind of just promo the show? Because I'd love to see it. If I'm in New York, I have to hit up Peter. I'm in the Bay Area, but yeah, tell us all those details.
Well, I'm not really promoting anything. I'm just promoting, like, stay safe out there, be healthy, love each other, I'm trying to walk the world with more patience and kindness and gentleness. And I try to do that with the connections that I have with people. So same thing, like when Peter told me about you, we were just like having a conversation, and I was like, yes, absolutely, here, send her my number.
Yeah, he told me, she was just like, we have to meet. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to love her.
Well, and I started listening to your podcast, and I'm like, what? It took me so long to get here, but it's really empowering and it's really beautiful. So I want to also, I know it's kind of ridiculous because I'm on your podcast, but I want to promote you, because what you're doing is really, especially for people of color, Asian American, people of color, it's always complicated. And I think I forget, because I'm always walking, around people that are not the same as me, that don't look the same as me. And so when I connect with someone who does, it's like, oh, this is like glorious, and I just don't feel like I'm connected to those people as much, and so I'm trying to do that more, and reach out to people more. And even if it's just like a text, or like a, hey, or do you want to get coffee? Because I think we just have to continue again to like stay together, stay empowered by staying together.
I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie, for discussing the impact of COVID on Broadway, including the mental health struggles among performers, harmful societal expectations about body image and age, and your role in Lion King on Broadway. If you want to connect more with Rosie, visit rosiefiedelman.com. In our next episode, we will be talking to Amy Yip about going through her fertility journey, including IVF, losing embryos due to circumstances beyond her control, and ways that holistic health helped her cope, which led to conceiving naturally. She also recently released her book, Unfinished Business, breaking down the Great Wall between adult child and immigrant parents.